Okay, what's up, guys? Thank you for coming. Happy New Year. Thanks for making the time to come on a holiday. But we got the markets open tomorrow, so we got stuff to go over. Uh, what's up, T Gray? Thank you for joining. Happy New Year to you too. Everything's going good, staying busy. I'm ready to get back to trading after not really trading last week. Haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have you back. Okay. So I'm just gonna clear this off. So let's take a look at NASDAQ. Um, and then we'll kind of do what we always do. Go over overall markets and bonds, the dollar, all that good stuff. So last week, very lackluster. Um, you can see most of the key names like Nvidia, Microsoft, all these names kind of just did nothing last week. Same with the indexes. And so really what we're looking at here, and if you guys have stocks you want me to look at, put them in the chat and I'll do that towards the end. But okay, so really what it comes down to, it was a low volume week last week. Wasn't too much going on. First initial thing that happened was we had a squeeze, it popped off, and we had a nice move upside. And now we're kind of recharging, right? So a way to look at this now is if you look at like the 4 hour trading above that all-time high that was made back here, which we had been talking about this for weeks. That, I mean, really, since this kind of area here. Well, really, when you look at it, the weekly time frame, we've been talking about this going long and this being a bull flag for a very long time. Ended up being a bull flag. Um, made the huge move up. We were able to capitalize on that, but now create another squeeze, fire to the upside. And now it looks like we may get a little bit of a pullback. So the way I kind of confirm this most of the time, or really the simplest way, that kind of the squeeze move is over and we may revert back to the mean or just trade sideways, is when we have two momentum bars that are lost. So you can see here, we had one lost momentum here, and then now we have one here. We kind of need a follow through tomorrow to see that continue, right? Same thing with SPY. We haven't got that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't want to delete all of these. I wouldn't be surprised to see us. Oh, mute that real quick. Just go tap this 480 mark. I think that everybody's waiting for that to happen. And I think what may happen is we get this 4 hour squeeze. We kind of get all this going here. We've got a 4 hour squeeze here. And then if you look at XLK, we've also got a 4 hour squeeze. So nothing so far is going to lead me to believe that we are going to move short. So, like in a drastic way, right? I think we're going to probably continue to trade sideways. I mean, you've seen the basics of kind of trading. Here's resistance. We trade up into resistance. Once we get there, sometimes we'll either straight fail or we may trade sideways and then finally make that breakthrough. I'm kind of looking for this to happen. And this resistance being just all-time highs, right? I think that, and I've been saying this for a long time now, that it's kind of just a unfulfilled prophecy. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed in the market, and but the way we've been trading and how aggressive the buying has been, it was kind of like a unfulfilled prophecy that we would get to back to that all-time high. And so we look at SPY. I'm thinking this we're gonna have follow through on this as well. I mean, because if you look at like DIA, this made all-time highs first, I believe, and then QQQ, and I think just lastly, SPY is going to be the one too that needs to do it, kind of finish the follow through, and then we can kind of see what we do from there. We go look at the internals. You can see we still haven't got that reading below 0.7 on the put call ratio. So we do have some room to move higher, and but we have gotten below 0.8. So that's something to pay attention to. So, and let's go to the VIX real quick. So the VIX, you can kind of see I've already drawn it out. We've got a little bit of a potential inverse head and shoulders forming. So let's see if that ends up being anything going into this week. I think this is kind of the neckline. Let's go see if we can at least go test this area here. But right now, I think that we may push a little bit lower. It's just really what it comes down to is it all is kind of contradicting. This by any means is a very early sign. Like if you look at it, we've got an A plus set up on the VIX to continue lower. Like we have stacked EMAs. We are in a downtrend, and technically we were not able to break this lower high here at right here at 1377, and now we're printing bullish moment or bearish momentum. We've got a squeeze, so really there's no reason to think this won't continue short. And then I mean from there we could see, I would guess we'd probably go pop towards that $10 mark, and so really we need to see further signs that this is going to turn into an inverse head and shoulders before we can actually act upon it. Right now, the main thing I'm looking for is SPY to go reach that all-time high. We may pull back to the mean, which would be right around that 466 level. So we may see that. I think it'd be more likely that we don't surpass this kind of level right here, because that is the most recent higher low that created a higher high. So I don't necessarily think we'll move below this level at around 466. So right in this area would be a good place to look for us to bounce, but I'm not sure we will get there. So really what I'm looking for now is what is the path that we are going to be on to reach all-time highs? Are we going to see a pullback first? Are we going to see consolidation sideways? But really, I'm not looking for us to roll over and start a new downtrend. Like I'm not looking for that at all, at least until we make all-time highs. So that's kind of the view on the market. And really whatever SPY does, QQQ will probably follow suit. I do like the way that the 4-hour looks on XLK, which, as you know, this makes up 30% of SPY, makes up I think it's 49% of QQQ. So this is a very influential sector. So I do like this for continued upside. We just need the momentum to flip. And then really, next psychological level we've got here is up here at 200. And then as for stocks that I'm going to keep an eye on for swing trades, Microsoft is in this one, chopping around for quite some time. And we have this clear kind of resistance that we've been struggling at, and we closed right at um here, right around this 376 level. And you can kind of see like we've came up to it, rejected hard, came up to it, rejected, came up to it, rejected, and it's kind of just like, all right, I didn't like this pattern looks pretty similar to me to what MPC did a few weeks ago, where it was like came up to resistance here, rejected, came up, rejected, came up, rejected, came up, rejected, and then we just flushed. So I'm kind of I'd like to see us above this level first to actually see us make that move higher. And I'd be a lot more confident in this trade. But I do like Microsoft. I think ultimately it's going to go to the $400 mark. It's just a matter of what is the path it's going to take to get there. And then we can flip over to kind of this here. Another one that I like is NVIDIA. 4-hour squeeze is already fired off, or daily squeeze is fired off. And we hit that $400 or $500 price target. I think that once we break this 500, it's going to be a little bit of a blow off top. And then from there, because that will be all time highs right around here once we get to this 505. I think a really good looking trade would be an anticipation break of 500 for a move up into like this 510 area. I think that could be a really good potential play going into this week. And you can see we've got squeezes everywhere. We've got a 4-hour, we've got a 2-hour, we've got a 1-hour. They're all bullish. So I like this trade. I like it to the upside. And you can see we're kind of just trading sideways, but kind of have a smaller term uptrend here. So I do like that for kind of like a blow off top, move into all-time highs above 500. And then as for these other names here, there's nothing that I really like. So like, well, okay, actually Apple. So I do like Apple. I think we're kind of creating this downtrend like on the lower time frames, like the 1 hour. You can see here it's kind of a clear downtrend. So I want to see us break this downtrend. And then I think we could potentially finally get that push up to 200. And that would be a new all-time high. So I do think that we have potential for that to happen. I think solid level to watch would probably be this one right here. If we can get above that 194-ish level, we could have a move up to $200. So that's really kind of my watch list. I'm mainly paying attention to the indexes. One other thing I want you to keep an eye on. We did trade this last week. We got 40% on Tesla, and those were February expiration. So I do have a much larger price target on Tesla, but I do think we may have a good opportunity to pick up some more options expiring in February for Tesla for potentially a move up into this area right up in here. So to go fill this gap. So I think that this is a really nice opportunity for a trade up into that gap fill and then $300. So I think that will be a very good trade. Now, one thing that I'm watching is I want to see us get over this trend line. So really what we'd be doing here is anticipating the break of this trend line and potentially catching an entry right here at the support. I'd be very interested to see if we end up holding this support. Okay, so now I'll take whatever tickers you want. That's mainly what I'm watching. Tesla is a way longer term play, but Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, these are kind of ideas that will play out relatively quickly. So I'm keeping an eye on all those. So if you guys have stocks that you want me to look at and to go over, put those in the chat and I can do so. CLX. Yeah, this one looks great. What is this? Clorox? Like the cleaning product? Yeah. Yeah, this looks perfect. I don't really have much else to say about it. I think it looks great. The only thing is that weekly isn't a downtrend, but you can't really deny how beautiful this bull flag is here. But at the same time, you've got the shifting momentum on the lower time or on the histogram. You've got we talk about this all the time. The earnings gap up here. So I think this one looks great. You have the earnings gap up and then the run after and then the consolidation. I think it looks excellent. This is a really good looking chart. I'm probably going to keep that on my watch list. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, I like that one. Well, I guess for price target, I mean, an easy one would be that 150 psychological level. So that's what I'd be looking for first. And you can kind of see how many times we've gone and rejected and bounced there. Yeah, that one looks great. Okay. Mara. Um, this one, it's already made its move. I mean, what's Bitcoin doing? It's really just a function. Yeah, so I mean, I think Bitcoin looks 10 out of 10. Great. Um, like you've got this kind of flag pattern. You've got a squeeze. You've got you're on the back of a weekly squeeze that fired. Your next resistance. I mean, okay. When it comes down to it, really Bitcoin is just gunning towards this 50,000 mark. So that's really what's going on. So really, I mean, things that correlate highly with Bitcoin is probably going to be a play that works out just fine to head until Bitcoin gets to that 50,000 price target. Because I think ultimately with a run like this that it's having, it's going to really make its move. And so that will make me very happy as I bought at 20,000, I think 23,000, something like that. So let's see if we can. I'm really thinking we're going to make a move up into that area of 50,000 or yeah, up into 50,000. So yeah, chart looks good. But as for Mara, mm, I don't think there's anything to do with it right now. But you can kind of see this key resistance we rejected like right off of. You can see it was resistance here, support, support, resistance, 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 and now it's support or resistance now. You know, support way back here, resistance here. I think that I look to be a buyer maybe right around here.
Michigan's
I'd potentially look to be a buyer right around these levels down here. Um, I guess it wouldn't be necessarily a level. I don't know. See, like with this, when I'm looking at this chart, I would lean more along the lines of like I'd rather just trade Bitcoin, like Bitcoin futures, because the chart looks so much better. And is this it's different than what I was just on? Yeah, the Bitcoin futures looks really good. So I would much more rather lean towards playing this than playing Mara, if that makes sense. Like, and I don't know. Let's take a look and see if this is more directly correlated. Like coin. I mean, I would say so. So, like, yeah, I'd rather play coin, but I don't, they're not really correlated like that anymore, it looks like. So, I mean, honestly, I would just be playing Bitcoin. I wouldn't even mess around with Mara or those other stocks just because Bitcoin, it's got this level up here of 50,000 and it's got this nice flag. It's got a squeeze. It's in a clear uptrend. It's on the back of a weekly squeeze that fired off. There's, I just think that when it has key psychological levels that are just so close, um, like NVIDIA to 500, they act as magnets. So I always want to play those. So you can try and play sympathy stuff. I would lean towards coin versus Mara just because clearly that is the one that people are buying and big money is buying. Like, I mean, if you look at it, but I'm not going to short it. Not when uh Bitcoin looks as good as it does. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Mara. AMD, this one, I can't do anything with it up here. I mean, based on where you're looking, it wants to go to all-time highs. I mean, from where it's sitting right now. So I wouldn't look at it in any other way, honestly. I would only look at it from function of that it's probably headed to all-time highs. Um, I mean, you can see here kind of how the weekly squeeze works. You can see flag, falling wedge type pattern, weekly squeeze, fired off to the upside. We're only 3 bars in, so these typically last 6 to 10 bars, and we're at that key psychological level of 150. So I think that this can continue to go. So this one looks great. It's just I can't do anything with it up here. So like we can look at other things in its sector. Like so this is SMH sector, and that's where I would go back to NVIDIA. Honestly, what I would be looking for is a little like a once we break this 500, it'll be kind of a blow off top. And that's where like targets are kind of unknown. The next I guess, key psychological level is 550, but really, is it going to be up in a straight line to 550? Probably not. So, what I would do is I would go with looking for that breakout of 500 and then looking kind of for a blow off top. Like once it breaks 500, a lot of buyers are going to step in. Once it hits that all time high, a lot more buyers are going to step in. And then it's kind of uncharted territory from here, right? That's where you can use the Keltner channels, the 2 ATR or 3 ATR. Right now, 2 ATR is sitting at around 510. And then I would imagine we're sitting around that 522 mark for 3 ATR. So that's kind of how I would look at those. But really, it's a matter of blow off top above that 500 and trail your stop up on the way up. And that's kind of how I would look at it. Especially if tech gets going based off this 4 hour squeeze and got a 2 hour squeeze. you got a 1 hour squeeze, you got all this stuff. So really we just need to get back above kind of this resistance area. And then XLK will be at 200. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is there any other stocks you guys want me to look at? Let's see, FDX. If there are other stocks you want me to look at, put it in the chat. 2-week squeeze? I don't know how to look at 2-week squeeze. I can look at the weekly. So it's still clearly in an uptrend. And I don't really know what I'd want to do with it from here. Reason being is because I think you asked about this one before, but typically when a stock gaps down more than 2 ATR, it's going to continue in that direction. But the thing is, here it had a huge run up before earnings and then had a massive sell off back to where it started. So really, the best thing to do with this is just give it time and not really, I wouldn't screw around with it. I just leave it. Leave it alone until it kind of decides to hang out where it's at, or kind of gives you a sign that it's going to head higher. Right now, I don't know. It did bounce off the 21 EMA. Yeah, but I mean, you can see this candle. This is a pretty hard sell-off candle. And then if we break the low of this candle, we'll probably continue to flush back down to this low. So I would just give it more time, because then if you look here, like first, this is an inside candle. If it breaks below here, then it will probably continue to flush at least to that 240, at least, and then potentially to that 225. And then if you go look at the daily, you can see here, you had that huge gap down, which is already a warning sign. There's just other things that look better than this. And then you've kind of got this bear flag forming. And this may just be a bear flag that goes and tags the 21 EMA or waits for the 21 EMA to come to it and then flush it out. It may fill the gap with time, but it's just like, how many other people do you think are thinking that? Like, oh, it probably will go for fill the gap. But it's like there's so many other things that look better than this that you could go play. And so what I would do is I'd wait for the daily to start cleaning itself up, and then I would look for that. Right now, you've got too many, like, there's a saying where it's like, okay, look for 3 reasons to enter into a trade, but then like, what do I need to get out of a trade? Just one reason. And from taking the trade perspective, there's a lot of reasons you wouldn't want to touch this thing. I mean, just because, I mean, it is an uptrend and technically looks okay on the weekly, but there's a lot of reasons not to want to be in it. Like the earnings gap down. That's never a good sign. The bear flag on the daily. A bearish engulfing and then an inside candle after that. There's just a lot of things that you don't want. There's kind of a lot of signs that you don't want to be a part of. And there's a lot. The point is, it may work out, but there's a lot of things that look better. Amazon. So I was watching this one pretty closely last week. It had this tight consolidation. I thought it might break upside, but I knew it wasn't going to do that last week. But I do like patterns where it kind of does this sideways chop and kind of forms like a flag and then kind of breaks down and then rips upside. So like really what this pattern means is it's a bullish pattern. Like we've got the flagpole, right? We trade sideways And then from there, we flush out everybody that got long inside this pattern, and then we rip upside. So this is really contingent on the market, but I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't just a fake out breakdown for a continuation move. Now, if the whole market pulls back, then I would just wait to get long somewhere within this like support area. But right now, you just you want to see it break back up. You want to see the momentum turn or some sort of confirmation that it's going to flip. Right now, there's no confirmation that it was a fake out and it's actually going to go. Right now, you're just sitting on something that has a 1 hour squeeze that's fired short, and is only 2 bars in, and then you've got a 2 hour that's looking like it might want to fire short as well. Because now, if it comes up to this area and retraces, then basically what's going to happen is all the people that are sitting in here that bought shares that got into positions here thinking it was going to break upside, they're waiting to get out at break even. So once this kind of like if this pulls back to this area, it's going to have a lot of resistance here because there's all these people that got long and are like, oh, it broke short. If it comes back to break even, I'll sell it and I'll get out for no loss, no gain. There's a lot of people that like to do that. And so that's where it becomes like this could be a sort of frustrating resistance here. So I would like to see momentum turn and just a clean setup on this time frame. Like you don't have the EMA stacked, you don't have the histogram in your favor. So really I'd lean towards this 4 hour. I'd wait for this 4 hour to flip bullish and then potentially think to get long. But I'm not going to short it. I mean, maybe the 2 hour you could, but it's not ready yet. But this would be not a terrible place to look to get short and look for the continuation down. And let's just go back test 150. That's pretty clean and simple trade idea. So I do like that one. If the market looks bearish, this could be a potential play to go retest 150. This wouldn't be a home run, but it would be just a nice magnet type play. But do you guys have any other tickers or are you good to go? That's all I've got. Like I said, I'm mainly paying attention to the indexes. I'm expecting some weakness in bonds. Just some relief from the rally that we've had. But nothing crazy. Really pay attention to this 4 hour squeeze that's forming in the indexes as well as XLK, because that's going to provide us some direction into the coming weeks. And then I have main trade ideas that I'm liking. I need to see Microsoft over this resistance. It rejected way too many times for me to want to stay long into the new year. So if it gets above this resistance here, I like that. NVIDIA is probably my favorite idea for kind of a blow off top above 500. So I do like that. And I would say that's about it. So, all right, guys, thank you all for coming. Have a good rest of your night. Hit me in the chat if you have questions. And yeah, thank you guys.